The Buffalo Bills ARE about to shake everything up? And nobody is safe, Bills Mafia? Buckle up. Because what just happened at One Bills Drive over the last 2 weeks is bigger than most people are giving it credit for. And if you're not paying close attention right now, you are going to miss the moment this franchise turns a corner forever. Minicamp is done. The off-season quiet is officially over. Roster moves are flying. Stars are being positioned for historic greatness. And somewhere deep inside that brand new Highmark Stadium, a Super Bowl trophy is either getting closer to Buffalo or slipping away one more time. So let's tear open every single layer of what is happening with your Buffalo Bills right now. Because this story has drama, it has stakes, it has underdogs clawing for survival, and it has the most dangerous quarterback on the planet about to remind the entire NFL why you do not sleep on Josh Allen. Let's start where the real action is, because the end of mandatory minicamp didn't just close out a practice schedule. It fired the starting gun on the most important roster war this franchise has seen in years. Buffalo officially signed wide receivers Devin Tompkins and Maxx Tomczak, while cutting cornerback Dorian Strong with a non-football injury designation, waiving injured running back Desmond Reed, and releasing wide receiver Gabriel Binyard. 5 moves in a matter of hours. And every single one of them means something. Let's talk about Devin Tompkins first, because this guy walked into minicamp and immediately made people pay attention. On Wednesday, during one of the final sessions of the week, Tompkins hauled in a diving catch on a deep touchdown pass from quarterback Shane Buechele, and the play lit up every Bills fan account on social media within minutes. You know the kind of catch that makes everyone in attendance go completely quiet for just a second before erupting? That was it. That was the moment. Tompkins enters his 5th NFL season, having already dressed for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Carolina Panthers, and Atlanta Falcons. His career receiving numbers, 42 catches for 162 yards and 1 touchdown, are not going to blow anyone away on paper, but here is what those numbers do not tell you. Tompkins brings speed, versatility, and serious special teams return experience, having logged 42 punt returns for 368 yards and 45 kick returns for 1,008 yards across his time in the league. When you are fighting for one of the final roster spots on a team loaded with talent at wide receiver, that kind of multidimensional value is everything. Tompkins is not just trying to make the team as a receiver. He is auditioning as the kind of Swiss Army knife player that championship rosters absolutely need. Then there is Maxx Tomczak, and his story might actually be even more fascinating. This is a player who had already been with Buffalo earlier in the offseason after signing as an undrafted free agent, got released, and now he is back for another shot. Teams do not keep bringing a player back unless they see something real. And when you dig into what Tomczak did at Youngstown State, it becomes very clear why the Bills cannot seem to quit him. The man set school records with 225 receptions and 3,024 receiving yards across 49 games while adding 15 touchdowns. You do not produce numbers like that without having legitimate football instincts and hands that work in traffic. College production does not guarantee NFL success, but it tells you something about a player's competitive DNA. And right now, Tomczak is showing Buffalo that competitive DNA every single chance he gets. But here is where this roster story gets genuinely dramatic, because these signings are not happening in isolation. They are happening because the Bills have some brutally difficult decisions coming, and the tension is building with every single passing day. Joe Brady takes over as head coach for the first time since 2017 that Buffalo has had a new man in charge, replacing Sean McDermott, who went 98-50 across 9 seasons. And Brady is inheriting a roster that is talented, expensive, and jam-packed with competition at every single position. Training camp officially begins on July 29th at St. John Fisher University in Rochester, marking the 26th time the franchise has held camp there. The practices run through August 7th, and between now and then, careers are going to be made and broken. Every rep matters. Every snap matters. Every special teams drill matters. So who specifically needs to be worried? Let me walk you through the 4 players sitting on the thinnest ice heading into Rochester, because each one of these stories is a movie unto itself. First up is defensive tackle Dwayne Carter, and honestly, his situation might be the most heartbreaking on the entire roster right now. Carter has struggled with injuries throughout his young career, suffering a wrist injury during his rookie season followed by a torn Achilles during the preseason last year. Through everything, he has managed only 14 tackles and 3 quarterback hits across his entire NFL career so far. His overall defensive grade of just 41.4, ranking 121st out of 132 players at his position, is the kind of number that makes front offices nervous. Carter did add weight this offseason and is expected to move inside to nose tackle in Jim Leonhard's new 3-4 defensive scheme. Defensive linemen Deone Walker and TJ Parker were at times unblockable during minicamp, which tells you exactly how fierce the competition is going to be on that defensive line. Carter needs training camp to be the single best stretch of football of his career. Nothing less will do. Next, we have edge rusher Javon Solomon, and his situation went from looking like an emerging opportunity to looking like a traffic jam almost overnight. The Bills added Bradley Chubb. They drafted TJ Parker in the 2nd round. Michael Hogt returned to practice during minicamp. Then Buffalo signed Mike Dana, a former Super Bowl champion with championship-level experience. Solomon did flash his potential in coordinator Jim Leonhard's new scheme during minicamp, which at least gives us reason to believe the light could be turning on. But through 2 NFL seasons, Solomon has just 3 career sacks, and he has been on the field for only about 20% of the team's defensive snaps in a given game. The talent is real. The competition is equally real. Training camp is going to decide whether Solomon becomes a contributor to something special or gets buried so deep on a depth chart that he disappears. Then there is offensive lineman Chase Lunt, whose rookie season essentially never happened because of a knee injury that placed him on injured reserve after just 2 games and 3 offensive snaps. Lunt is believed to have the versatility to play both guard and tackle, and Buffalo has genuine openings after David Edwards departed in free agency and Ryan Van DeMark left for the Minnesota Vikings. That sounds like opportunity, right? Well, here is the complication. The Bills drafted Jude Borey in the 4th round and Armaj Reed Adams in the 7th round of the 2026 draft, both of whom present direct competition for Lunt's roster spot. Lunt is essentially being asked to prove he belongs over players the organization specifically invested draft capital in acquiring. That is a tall mountain to climb, but versatile linemen who can protect Josh Allen always have value in this building. And then we get to Macaulay Hardman Jr., and I am just going to say it directly. This is the most fascinating roster battle on the entire team right now. Hardman's clearest path to a roster spot runs directly through the return game. And his body of work with Buffalo is a roller coaster that perfectly captures everything about bubble players fighting for their NFL lives. He delivered a stunning 61-yard kick return against Tampa Bay that gave everyone watching a jolt of electricity. Then he fumbled on a punt return in that same game. Then a calf injury ended his season entirely. Now he is back, competing against Khalil Shakir, who handled the team's primary punt return duties last season, and multiple other players who all want those same special teams reps. Hardman has the explosiveness to make this roster. He also has the fragility and inconsistency that makes teams hesitant. Training camp at St. John Fisher could genuinely be the defining audition of his professional career. And speaking of exciting new additions to this building, let's not overlook what just happened with UFL Championship MVP Ian Wheeler. The Bills signed Wheeler after he totaled 6 rushing touchdowns during the UFL regular season and capped it all off with a championship and championship MVP honors with the Louisville Kings. Wheeler originally entered the NFL with the Chicago Bears as an undrafted free agent out of Howard in 2024, made waves on Hard Knocks, and then suffered a torn ankle in the preseason against Kansas City. This is a guy who has been fighting for everything his entire career, and now he gets a shot to compete for a 3rd running back spot behind Ray Davis and Frank Gore Jr. If Wheeler's awful dominance translates to even a fraction of that energy in the preseason, Bills Mafia is going to fall in love with this kid fast. Speed, toughness, and a chip on his shoulder the size of Lake Erie. That is exactly the energy this roster needs coming into camp. Now, let's completely shift gears. Because while all of those roster battles are gripping in their own right, the second enormous story swirling around this franchise right now is about what could happen when the actual games begin. Because multiple names on this roster are being discussed as serious candidates for major NFL awards in 2026. And the conversation is way more real than just preseason hype. Let's start with Joe Brady. Because if he pulls off what everyone in Buffalo is hoping for, the Coach of the Year conversation writes itself. Brady inherits one of the most pressure-filled situations any first-year head coach could face. Brady was elevated after Sean McDermott's firing following their second-round loss to the Denver Broncos, inheriting a new coaching staff that includes defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard, offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael, and special teams coach Jeff Rodgers. He already has a massive structural advantage because he helped build this offense from the inside out as coordinator. But now he owns the entire operation, the wins and the losses, the culture and the clock management, the game plans and the press conferences. Brady is already one of the early Coach of the Year candidates heading into his first full campaign at the helm. And if he guides this team to a Super Bowl in the first year at the new Highmark Stadium, the story becomes absolutely legendary. The last Bills coach to win Coach of the Year was Chuck Knox back in 1980. That is how long this franchise has been waiting for that recognition. Then there is James Cook. And Bills Mafia, the case for Offensive Player of the Year is absolutely not a stretch. Cook led the entire NFL with 1,621 rushing yards last season. He led the league with 95.4 rushing yards per game. He added 291 receiving yards on top of that, while never getting the kind of credit his production deserved. Cook appears ready to reprise his near workhorse role in 2026, and now he is doing it with DJ Moore in the building to stretch defenses vertically and create the spacing that running backs dream about. When teams have to respect a legitimate downfield passing threat, they cannot stack 8 men in the box against the run the same way they did last year. Cook running behind an offensive line playing for a new head coach with something to prove, with more space to work with than he has ever had. The only thing more terrifying than that is what comes next. Because we have not even talked about Josh Allen yet. And honestly, where do you even begin? Allen opened as the favorite to win the 2026-27 MVP award at BetMGM at plus 600 odds, ahead of Lamar Jackson at plus 700. In 2025, Allen finished with 4,247 total yards and 39 total touchdowns, making him the only player in the NFL that season with over 3,000 passing yards and over 500 rushing yards. He did that while dragging a receiver-thin roster deep into the postseason and managing a foot injury that would have ended lesser men's seasons entirely. And now he enters 2026 healthy, motivated, with a new head coach who knows his game inside and out, with DJ Moore providing the elite perimeter threat the offense has desperately needed, with the reigning league rushing leader in his backfield, and with the entire weight of a franchise and a fan base carrying a decades-long Super Bowl dream on his shoulders. As Bleacher Report noted, Allen at 30 years old in his 9th season is expected to be an MVP frontrunner with a good, not amazing supporting cast, while finally leading the Bills to a Super Bowl in a brand new stadium. It is, quite frankly, a lot. But here is the thing about Josh Allen that the national media consistently underestimates. The man does not just rise to the occasion. He ascends to a different dimension when the stakes are at their absolute highest. During minicamp, Allen and DJ Moore connected on a touchdown throw where Allen threaded the needle and hit a sliding Moore for the score. And that single play gave every Bills fan watching a glimpse of what this offense could look like when the lights come on for real. The betting market is sending one clear message heading into this season. Josh Allen is still the guy. And let's be real about what this season represents beyond individual awards and individual statistics.